part of everyone's religion.
You what?
First, we have to put them in graves. So we have to.
No, but what do you do even before that? Do you wash the body?
Yeah, of course, we wash the body with the cup.
Okay, well, that's something that's found in Islam, and it certainly is something that's found in Judaism. I don't know to the same extent that it's found in Christianity. Okay, I don't think they're doing tahara in Christianity, but the body is something is to be treated in a certain way, and certainly within Islam and within Judaism, we also have prohibitions against cremating. We are not allowed to cremate. We think there has to be a natural disintegration of the body back into the earth, and so certainly Islam and Judaism are very, very similar. And by the way, you know, we also, especially in the Middle East, in Israel, and I know in many Middle Eastern Muslim countries, we don't use coffins. Okay? We don't use coffins. We simply wrap the body up in a shroud and place it into the earth. The only reason we have to use coffins here is that it's part of provincial law. And there's a huge lobby on behalf of the coffin makers to want us to buy coffins. Okay? But eventually, it's all going to end up as dust. And the coffin that we use, for example, within Judaism, can't have any metal on it. So it's not made with nails. There's no metal, because metal was a symbol of war, and metal doesn't decompose the same way, and so on. So let me ask you here. How do you fight against this huge, huge force of advertising in the world with regard to what you should look like, what you should smell like, what you should appear like? How do you fight against it? Is it impossible? Yeah? Well, I'll tell you one thing. Your parents have chosen, perhaps with your consent, hopefully. You guys are not in the public school system. You're all wearing uniforms. Okay? You're all wearing uniforms. Do you know why you have a uniform policy? Why do they have a uniform policy at Little Flower Academy? What? Equal. Equal. Why do they have a uniform policy at King David? Equal. Yes? So what? Equality. Okay. So that you're not wearing a sweater that is Uchi Gucci whatever, and you're not, you know. By the way, I always find it fascinating that we have to pay to advertise for somebody else. I always thought they should pay us. You know, it's like they pay Tiger Woods to wear that hat. So how come Hilfiger or whatever his name or whatever it is, how come he doesn't pay us to forget it? How come he doesn't pay us to, you know, we're advertising for him, but we get caught up. We actually spend money to advertise other people's products. How crazy is that? And your schools have chosen uniforms that are going to help preserve a sense of dignity. They were not chosen by Britney Spears, although some of you perhaps wish they were. I don't know. Not anymore. Okay? So it's a sense, it's a sense of respect, and it's a sense of caring. You've got to start by loving yourself. And I want to talk to you not only just for one moment, because I have to leave in a few moments. It's not just about your dress. There's a big bad world out there that wants you to get involved in the drug culture because it's just so lucrative. There's just so much money out there in drugs. Okay? Now, I'm talking to you not only as a rabbi, but I'm talking to you as a clergyman who every week has to bury people. And I have had to bury young people from overdoses, from suicides, from murders, from the most horrendous types of death you could possibly imagine. And I'm scared. I'm scared as a rabbi. I'm scared as a parent. I have 3 of my own kids. Okay? As to what's out there. And who wants to sell you what? Whether it's with booze or it's going to be with drugs. That doesn't help your body. It doesn't help your mind. And each of our traditions is going to speak to that, of how important it is not to get wasted, not to get into that type of a culture. It's hard fighting it. It may be easier fighting it in your schools. I don't know. Let me ask a question. Are there drugs in your school? Thank you. She said yes. Are there drugs in your school? You don't know. Are there drugs in your school? Yes. Are there drugs in your school? No. No. Okay. I'm not sure. I don't know your school. I don't know your school. But I wouldn't be surprised if somehow they come in. And when I say drugs in your school, is it in the school per se, or are kids in your school using it? It's somehow on the weekends or night or whatever. Okay? It's all over. And we're talking about some dangerous stuff here. Dangerous, dangerous stuff. What's the big thing out? I just asked my grade 10s last week or 2 weeks ago at the synagogue, and the drug du jour is what now? Ecstasy? Yes? Have you heard about ecstasy as a drug? It's a pill. Okay? In many instances, it's laced with meth. It's laced with LSD. In other words, there's some other chemicals in here because they want to get you hooked. The people who are selling this, they couldn't care less. I mean, they don't want you to drop dead the first day because it's bad for business. But if they can get enough money out of you, okay? How do we fight against it? How do you fight against it? Yes?
You try to educate yourself as much as possible.
Try to educate yourself. Okay? Yes? Stay away from bad influences. Anything else?
You don't downgrade somebody.
What if you're approached? What's your response going to be?
Say no.
Say no. But that's not always easy, is it? Especially if you're in a group and you want to be part of that group, and it's cool to be part of that group, and then you find out that, gee, if you say no, you're not going to get invited to that party. You're going to be disinvited. You're going to be all sorts of things. There's all sorts of social pressures. And those social pressures just keep getting greater and greater as you progress into school and through high school and university. The pressures get greater and greater. And it comes down to the fact that you've got to start with a love for yourself. No one else can love you more than you can. If you really love yourself, and I'm not talking about being narcissistic, I'm not talking about being self-absorbed. You really love what God has given you. Your mind, your soul, your thinking. I love problems. Why? Gives me an opportunity to try and solve them. I don't always solve them. I'm still figuring out all sorts of things or trying to figure out all sorts of things in life. But it's another opportunity, and I'm amazed. I'm amazed. I remember years ago, listening to a guy by the name of Bernie Siegel. Bernie Siegel is one of the pioneers in cancer research and talking about, and Bernie Siegel was one of the very first doctors. He was a cancer surgeon, and he would go into an operating room and would insist that the staff, the nurses, never ever talk in a derogatory fashion or in a negative fashion about the patient. Because he believes that the patient hears everything that's going on, even if you're under an anesthetic. And he was one of the very first people to go to the patient and say, what music do you want us to play during your surgery? Wait one sec. Bernie said, crazy thing, when he would cut himself, and he wouldn't do it on purpose, but he was absolutely amazed at the body's function to heal. He's a scientist, but a very spiritual individual. The ability to heal. What a phenomenal gift that has been given to us. Yes, sorry.
At a different point, I'm just curious if we could look at the second part of it is to love your neighbor as yourself, as to what the students consider to be their neighbors.
Oh, okay. Who do you consider to be, thank you, who do you consider to be your neighbor? Yes.
Everyone around you.
Everybody around you. Does it refer to the person who lives just next door to you? Does it refer to the person living next door to you? Does it refer just to Muslims? Does it refer just to Christians? Does it refer just to Jews? No, it doesn't. It refers to everybody. It refers to everybody. Everybody lives in your neighborhood, and you live in everybody else's neighborhood. It's a very small world. It's a very, very small world.
Can you introduce yourself, please?
Right. My name is Jenny Stoff, and I'm the National Program Coordinator with the Canadian Centre for Diversity.
And you?
I'm Daleen Marshall, and I'm the Vancouver Program Coordinator for the Canadian Centre for Diversity.
So what does actually Canadian Centre for Diversity do?
What we do is we work with students mostly to promote diversity and try to work against discrimination and bias and prejudice.
Okay, what brings you here today?
Well, we have a wonderful 2-day, really thorough experience for adults and youth alike. Yesterday on Sunday, we had a trialogue, mostly for adults. So we had 3 clerics come, a rabbi, a reverend, a Christian reverend, and an imam to do a trialogue. And today we are working with youth, and those 3 clerics have come back, and we're working with a group of 70 youth from those 3 different cultural and religious backgrounds, and we're engaging in lots of dialogue about interfaith and diversity and lots of exciting anti-discrimination exercises and things like that.
So are you satisfied with what you see here today and what happened yesterday?
I think today it's great to see the students interacting with one another. They're really getting into the discussion. This afternoon they'll get to know each other a little bit more through our diversity workshop. They'll get to know each other in smaller groups, and so they'll make connections between the faiths with people of their own age, which I think is great. And yesterday it was very informative for our community to hear from 3 different clerics here in Vancouver.
So Canadian Centre for Diversity, it's been in existence for how long?
The Canadian Centre for Diversity is a new organization from a very old, that's been brought up by a very old organization. We've been running programs that advocate for diversity for a number of years, but the name Canadian Centre for Diversity has only been in operation for just under a year actually. But we do receive funding from a number of different sources, and this what we're doing today has actually been funded by Scotiabank. So we're in the middle of a lot of exciting programs. So.
Okay, if you give us one message, what would that be?
That we are all different, but we all have similarities as well. So we need to celebrate our differences and our similarities.
And what would yours be?
My one thing to take away is never to stop asking the questions and never to stop the dialogue, because we say that we can be very scared of the questions that are asked, but the scarier thing are the questions that aren't asked.
Canada shows people of different culture, different religion, different color. They can live together, coexist beautifully, and we have a beautiful society. This can be a great message for the rest of the world. Of course, we have our differences here, and there are prejudice and racism happen. But can Canada be a model for the rest of the world?
Certainly. I think Canada is a model for the rest of the world in that way. Obviously, you pointed out the work is never done. There will be misconceptions and prejudice and bias. But I think that what Canada does so well is there's such a focus on people coming together and living as one in Canada, but still maintaining their own cultural traditions, which I think is so unique. So I think absolutely the world can learn from Canada.
So God is a center for bringing people together. Is that how you would put it?
For today's workshop, definitely that is the central tenet of all three faiths, is that they have one God and they practice their faiths a little differently, and they have different areas of their faith that they believe a little differently, but they all have one God, and that is what brings them together today.
I really thank you very much and hope to see you guys more.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Imagica Film Productions, Vancouver's newest and most exciting production company located in North Vancouver. Imagica offers a wide range of production and post-production needs, including studio space, green room, white room, lighting, cameras, sound engineering, and editing. Contact us at 604-689-4624 or visit us online at www.imagicaproductions.com.